welcome everyone. Today we are reviewing the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max. Now this is of course a big substantial upgrade from Xiaomi to its Redmi Note 10 series. Last year we saw that they had introduced a Pro Max variant with the Redmi Note 9, and this year it continues as well. Now there are three variants, and the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max is the highest variant that you can find. It's also the most expensive phone in the Note series that we've seen so far. It starts at 18,999 and actually crosses the 20,000 price mark, which Redmi Note series has so far typically avoided. Now, what's changed out here? Of course, there's the camera, which is 108 MP now. It has a 108 megapixel camera at the back. It gets a 5 MP super macro camera, and we'll find out whether it's actually super macro or not. And it has an AMOLED display now, and it comes with 120 Hz refresh rate. Of course, the battery remains big. It's 5000 mAh plus, and it comes with 33 watt fast charging as well. So let's find out in our review if the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max is worth the hype. So let's start with the camera, since this is the big aspect and the big change in the Redmi Note 10 series. Now with the Note 10 Pro Max, as I already mentioned, you get a 108 MP camera. Now, is it worth the hype? I'd say it definitely is, because the camera does perform pretty well, even in tricky light situations. Yes, the colors are a little tad saturated in some instances, but for most part, the camera actually performs quite well. And no, you don't need to shoot every photo in 108 MP mode, unless you really want to zoom in and capture details of each picture. In fact, I took a picture of this painting behind me in 108 MP mode, and I found that I can actually zoom in and crop and see each character very clearly in the photo, which is not possible when you're taking in a regular mode. But again, you don't really need to shoot in 108 MP because that's going to increase the size of each photo. Now let's talk about the macro camera. Now when Xiaomi called this a 5 MP super macro camera, I was a bit skeptical, I'll be honest, because I've reviewed countless phones, and on most of them, the macro camera sensor just doesn't make sense. Like, it's mostly 2 MP or 5 MP, and it just is not able to perform. I was, however, pleasantly surprised with the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max's macro camera, because it actually does deliver pretty sharp results. Even in low light, it actually manages to perform quite decently if you consider the price of the phone. No, it's not DSLR level yet, but it is pretty good, and it doesn't seem quite as, useless as it is on some other phones. You can actually get quite close to the subject and get very nice shots provided you keep your hands a little steady. I managed to take some very close shots of flowers and leaves, and these are typically things that move a lot. They don't stay still, and I don't have the most steady hands. But I got some good camera shots, and I would say this is definitely an impressive part of the phone. Okay, now let's talk about the night mode. Now again, with the night mode, Xiaomi has made a lot of improvements on the phone, and it does show, because when you're taking photos in low light, it actually managed to deliver some pretty good results, where it's managing to maintain color, keep noise to a minimum, without making things look really unnatural. But it does deliver good results, and I'd say it's quite nice. However, at times it does struggle with focus, especially if the light is, the other light source is really far off or it's not that clear. But that then is the curse of the night mode. In night mode, you need to make sure that there is some light source somewhere. Otherwise, it won't really function that well. And of course, you will need to stay still when you are taking these photos. I'll also quickly talk about the selfie camera. Now it's 16 MP on the front, and it's quite good. Yes, the skin does look really smooth, and at times, even my hair looks much blacker than it actually is. But hey, I'm not complaining about that. And overall, the camera is a good package, especially the 108 MP camera, I'd say, is an improvement. And so is the macro camera. It's a good package overall, and definitely lives up to some of the hype that Xiaomi has made about this phone. Now let's also talk about videos. Now this is typically an aspect in most budget phones which is not yet to the mark of the premium devices, especially if you're, say, considering the iPhone, which is still, in my opinion, the gold standard when it comes to shooting and recording videos. Now, videos, if you're taking on this particular phone, especially if you're taking them outside and it's a nice, bright, well-lit day, they come out quite well. They look crisp and nice, but I feel it still needs improvement, especially when you're shooting videos indoors. Now, what happens with videos indoors is that the skin tones at times I felt were off, and if you're going really close to an object, the colors just go off. So I feel it still needs a bit of improvement, especially when you're shooting videos indoors. Now let's talk about the display. Now this is an AMOLED display on the Redmi Note 10 series, and it gets a refresh rate of 120 Hz. It's a full HD resolution display, and I found the display to be more than adequate. Whether I was using it outside in bright, outdoors with bright sunlight, it was perfectly legible, though a bit on the reflective side. And yes, it is a pretty good display for consuming content, be it on Netflix, YouTube, be it your social media apps, or even for gaming. And when I was gaming, I had the settings at the highest for all of those games that I was playing, and it performed quite well. Yes, sure, you can get the 120 Hz refresh rate now, but do you really need that? Are you actually going to change it? I didn't even change it for quite a while during my review, and I just almost remember to change it towards the end. But yeah, of course, it's a smoother animation and smoother experience overall, but the 60 Hz should be good enough for most people. Okay, now let's talk about some of the other aspects of the phone, and I'm going to talk about the design. It manages to maintain a very slim profile despite the fact that it's got a 5000 mAh battery, and that's good to see. Remember, this is a big screen display. It's almost 6.7 inches, and it can get a little tough to use it with one hand, but hey, remember, that's the price you pay for all that extra screen that you get now, which is in the end better for video consumption. My other main problem with the design would be that it doesn't quite sit still on the back, because the camera is jutting out, so it's never lying quite flat, and there's always a risk that the device might slip and fall from a surface. So always keep that in mind. I would say get a cover, because it has a nice glossy back finish, but that does get covered in fingerprints pretty soon and doesn't look so great. Talking about the performance of the phone, it comes with the Snapdragon 732G processor, and in my daily usage, I didn't face any problems, be it social media, opening multiple tabs on Chrome, multiple notifications coming in on WhatsApp. None of that was an issue with this device. Playing games like Asphalt, or even the more basic games like Ludo King, it's all pretty good on this device. The performance is smooth. I did notice that with some games it got a little hot towards the camera part, but nothing as such where I would say that I saw noticeable lag or stutter. The device performed quite smoothly during my use case. Yes, this is not a 5G ready device, and Xiaomi's logic for that is that, hey, if you want a 5G device, probably you'll have to get a different phone. Remember, the Mi 10i is actually there, which is quite close to this in price point. But remember, this is not a 5G ready phone yet. So if you want something which is future proof and you want to use it for the next, say, 5 years, then maybe this might not be the device for you. Okay, so the phone runs MIUI 12 based on Android 11. And the good thing is that once MIUI 12.5 comes, you'll actually be able to remove and uninstall a lot of the Xiaomi pre-installed apps. In fact, all Xiaomi pre-installed apps, you'll have an option to uninstall them once MIUI 12.5 is rolled out. And that's good to see, because it'll give a lot more control to users, especially in terms of how they want to keep the software experience. I didn't notice any ads on this, but yes, when you're trying to set up the phone, Xiaomi will prompt you to install a lot of apps from its Get Apps store, which is a little bit still annoying. So finally, let's talk about the battery. Now it comes with a 5020 mAh battery and 33 watt fast charging. The fast charger is bundled in the box, and you can easily use this phone for a day or so with heavy duty usage. You can extend it beyond a day if your usage is more on the moderate side. And with the fast charging, you can get it to 100% in just over an hour. And I found that from 20 to 100, it didn't take more than an hour or so, which is really good to see. So let me talk about the Redmi Note 10 Pro Max verdict and who should buy this phone. Let me just break it down a bit. As far as camera goes, terrific, excellent performance. Performance is also more than good, it's more than adequate. Should keep most users happy. Display is and battery are top notch as well. So your major points of the device, I'd say it does a pretty good job, and it's a really good package for the price. Now, should you throw away that Redmi Note 9 Pro Max or the Redmi Note 9 Pro? I'd say hold on, because those are still very good phones and you don't really need to upgrade, unless of course you are in the market for an upgrade. Now if you are on an older phone, say a Redmi Note 7 or even the Note 8, and you might want to upgrade, I'd say consider this device, especially if you have the budget. Now, if you don't have the budget and you can't really stretch, to 18,000, you don't really need to get this phone. You can always get the Pro version or the Redmi Note 10, depending on where your price point is. Overall, I'd say that if you are comfortable spending close to 20,000 on a phone, this is definitely one of the phones that you can get and consider. It delivers a good performance, it has an excellent camera, and it really is the phone to beat in the under 20k segment.